A new beginning, the world after the Great Flood. Thousands of years ago, when the Earth still bore the scars of a cosmic catastrophe, across every civilization known to man, in every culture throughout history, the same tale echoes: a great flood that swallowed the world and then receded. The Babylonians spoke of it, the Egyptians remembered it, the Indians had their version, and the Chinese too. As if humanity shares a collective memory of this defining moment. Today, we embark on a journey through time to uncover what happened after the waters withdrew, how humanity rose again, how the first civilizations emerged from the womb of this cosmic catastrophe. The Great Ark finally comes to rest atop the peaks of Mount Ararat. The waters slowly recede. After months of waiting, a single man steps out with his family. He finds himself facing a world reborn. This man, as the book of Genesis tells us, is Noah. The Quran in Surah Hud calls him a grateful servant. But this is not the only version. Ancient cuneiform tablets unearthed in Iraq speak of Gilgamesh and a man named Utnapishtim, who survived a similar flood and was granted immortality. In distant India, the Mahabharata tells of Manu, the prophet who saved mankind and animals aboard a great vessel. Chinese legends speak of Nuwa, the mythical emperor who rebuilt the world after a devastating flood. Isn't it strange that civilizations which never met all remember the same catastrophe? From Noah, as chronicled by Al-Tabari and Ibn Kathir, three branches of humanity emerged. First, Shem, bearer of prophecy and wisdom. His descendants moved eastward to Assyria, Elam, and Canaan, confirmed by Genesis. Second, Ham. His lineage spread across Africa to Egypt, Kush, and Abyssinia. Ancient Egyptian records support this. Third, Japhet. His descendants journeyed north and west to Turkey, Greece, and Europe, echoed in Greek myths like Deucalion and Pyrrha. And thus, from one family, all the peoples of the earth were born. Centuries passed, humanity multiplied, spread across the land, but human nature remained unchanged. From Ham's lineage emerged a man who would become a symbol of tyranny throughout history. His name, Nimrod, son of Cush. Genesis describes him intriguingly. He was a mighty hunter before the Lord. The Jewish historian Josephus, in Antiquities of the Jews, reveals something astonishing. Nimrod was the first to convince people that their strength came from themselves, not from God. Picture the vast plains of Mesopotamia, where the Tigris and Euphrates meet. Water nourishes the land, agriculture thrives, people gather, and in the midst of it all, Nimrod rises, tall, powerful, commanding. Here he founded the first true city after the flood, Babylon. Its name means Gate of God in ancient Akkadian, and the Sumerian king list, a priceless cuneiform document, actually mentions rulers in this region around 2240 BCE. But Nimrod wasn't content with ruling the earth. He wanted to challenge the heavens themselves. Imagine this: one man rallying thousands of workers to build a tower unlike anything the world had seen, a tower reaching the sky, the Tower of Babel. For years, under the scorching Mesopotamian sun, workers toiled day and night, lifting baked bricks, mixing mortar with pitch. Layer upon layer, the tower rose. Genesis preserves their arrogant words. Come, let us build ourselves a city with a tower that reaches to the heavens, so that we... And in a single moment, everything changed. Picture the scene. A worker hands a brick to his companion, says something in the language they both knew, but the other stares blankly as if he didn't understand a word. That morning, everyone spoke one language. By evening, they had become tribes, speaking tongues none could comprehend. The Babylonian Talmud adds vivid details to this pivotal moment. It tells of workers accusing one another. One asks for a stone, the other hands him a hammer. The first grows angry, thinking he's being mocked. And so, the name Babylon was born. In Hebrew, it means confusion, the place where languages were scrambled and the greatest human project collapsed into chaos. And so began the Great Migration. Cuneiform tablets from Ur and the archives of Ebla in northern Syria speak of massive waves of migration during this era. Each tribe, now speaking its own tongue, set off in a different direction. Some journeyed east, across deserts and mountains, to Persia and India, carrying with them memories of the flood, knowledge of farming and the art of building. Others moved north, toward Turkey and the Caucasus, where in time kingdoms and civilizations would rise. A third group headed west, through the Levant and Lebanon, toward Egypt and Africa. And indeed, ancient Egyptian records mentioned the arrival of Asiatic tribes during this very historical window. But among all these migrants, there was one man who would change the course of history forever. In Ur of the Chaldeans, a thriving trade city, excavated by Sir Leonard Woolley, revealing temples, palaces, and golden treasures, a man was born who would become the father of the Abrahamic faiths, Abraham, son of Terah, called in the Quran Khalil Allah, the intimate friend of God. He grew up in a society that worshipped idols and celestial bodies, as shown in ancient tablets from Ur. Temples dedicated to the moon god Nana, Ishtar, and dozens of other deities. But Abraham was different. The book of Joshua tells us, "Your ancestors lived beyond the river long ago, Terah, father of Abraham and Nahor, and they worshipped other gods." But Abraham began to question these silent idols that neither hear nor see. Ibn Kathir recounts a powerful story. One day, Abraham entered his temple's father and found it filled with idols, large and small. He smashed them all, except the largest, and placed the axe on its shoulder. When the people came and asked who did this, he pointed to the big idol and said, mockingly, "Perhaps the chief did it. Ask them if they can speak." But it wasn't just about breaking statues. Josephus adds a fascinating detail. He says Abraham was the first to deduce the existence of one God by observing the stars and planets. He saw the sun rise and set, the moon appear and vanish, the stars move in perfect harmony, and realized there must be a supreme power governing this vast universe. The Quran confirms this in Surah Al-An'am. "Thus we showed Abraham the kingdom of the heavens and the earth, so that he might be among those with certainty." And so, the revolution of monotheism began. But every revolution demands sacrifice. The scriptures speak of a pivotal moment, when the divine command came, "Leave your land, your kin, and your father's house, to the land I will show you." At 75 years old, Abraham left everything: his birthplace, his wealth, his family and friends, and began a journey with no known destination. The recently uncovered Mari archives on the Euphrates confirm active trade routes between Haran, and Canaan during this period, supporting the biblical account of Abraham's migration.
While Abraham searched for the Promised Land, Egypt was living its golden age. Picture this: the Nile Valley in ancient times, the mighty river flooding each year, watering the soil, leaving behind rich, black earth, like a paradise on earth. The great pharaohs building the pyramids, those wonders that still baffle scientists today. Herodotus, the famed Greek historian, gave Egypt a timeless title: Egypt is the gift of the Nile. Temple inscriptions at Saqqara and ancient papyri speak of a sophisticated government and an advanced irrigation system that made Egypt the breadbasket of the ancient world. The Turin King List, a priceless document, names the giants of that era: Khufu, builder of the Great Pyramid, the tallest structure on Earth for over 4,000 years; Khafre, who carved the Sphinx, that colossal guardian of the pyramids; Menkaure, who completed the Giza Pyramid Complex. Inscriptions from the Abydos Temple tell us these pharaohs saw themselves as gods on earth, mediators between the divine and the mortal, ruling by divine command, building temples and pyramids as bridges between heaven and earth. And amid this grandeur, a fateful encounter took place. The Bible tells of a famine in Canaan, forcing Abraham and his wife Sarah to journey to Egypt, seeking food and shelter. Intriguingly, inscriptions at the Beni Hassan Temple show groups of Asiatics entering Egypt during this period, seeking work and sustenance. And then something happened that changed everything. Sarah, Abraham's wife, was a woman of striking beauty. When Pharaoh saw her, he was captivated and wished to marry her. The Jewish Midrash adds mysterious details of strange events in Pharaoh's palace, miracles that protected Sarah, making Pharaoh realize this woman was no ordinary mortal, but under divine protection. The Ebers Papyrus, a medical scroll from that era, mentions sudden, unexplained illnesses in the royal court that vanished just as mysteriously, perhaps echoing the miracles described in sacred texts. Abraham returned from Egypt, as the Bible tells us, very rich in livestock, silver, and gold. But the true treasure was not gold or silver. The real gift was a woman, Hagar the Egyptian, given by Pharaoh to Sarah as a gesture of honor after witnessing divine miracles. Al-Tabari tells us Hagar was no ordinary servant. She came from noble lineage, a royal Egyptian household, chosen carefully by Pharaoh to accompany the wife of the great prophet. Years passed. Abraham was now 85, as the Bible precisely notes in Genesis. An old man, still childless, Sarah, his beloved wife, beyond childbearing age. Picture this: a man who left everything behind, answering a divine call, standing beneath the starry skies of Canaan, wondering, when will the promise be fulfilled? When will the child come, the one he was promised? And then the great news arrived. The Babylonian Talmud adds touching details. Angels came to Abraham, saying, "Sarah your wife shall bear you a son, and you shall name him Ishmael, for the Lord has heard her affliction." Ishmael was born around 1910 BCE, according to biblical chronology. Ibn Kathir describes him as a gentle boy, quiet, wise, deeply loved by Abraham. But love sometimes brings conflict. Tension began to rise in the household. The Bible speaks of jealousy between Sarah and Hagar, two women under one roof, one barren, the other a mother to a beautiful child. Then came the divine command that would change history forever. Al-Azraqi in History of Mecca, and even Hisham in the biography, described this pivotal journey. Abraham carried Hagar and her infant son across the deserts of Arabia. Days and nights passed until they reached a dry valley surrounded by towering mountains. There he left them. Al-Bukhari, in his Sahih, narrates the emotional scene. Hagar asked him, "O Abraham, where are you going, leaving us in this valley where there is no human, no life?" When he remained silent, she asked the question that changed everything. "Did God command you to do this?" He replied, "Yes." And she said, with the faith of a believer, "Then he will not abandon us." And then the miracle began. Picture this: a woman alone in the desert with a crying infant, water gone, food finished. Al-Tabari and Ibn Kathir recount the details. Hagar began to run between two hills, Safa and Marwa, 7 times up and down, searching for water or a caravan or any sign of hope. Suddenly, water burst forth beneath the feet of the infant. Zamzam, the blessed spring, still flowing to this day. Arab historians confirm this miracle led to the birth of the first human settlement in Mecca.
The Jurham tribe saw birds circling the area. They knew water was near. They came, asked Hagar for permission to settle near the sacred spring, and thus Mecca was.
Years passed. Ishmael grew into a young man. Al-Azraqi tells us Abraham would visit his son once a year. Their bond stronger than any between father and son. And during one of these visits came the greatest test in the history of faith. Picture this: a man in his 90s who waited decades for a child, finally blessed with a son, now receives a command that would break any heart. The Quran tells us of the vision. When he reached the age to work with him, he said, "O my son, I have seen in a dream that I must sacrifice you. So tell me, what do you think?"
Imagine this conversation between father and son. The father reveals the divine command, and the son, in a moment of pure submission and faith, replies, "O my father, do as you are commanded. You will find me, if God wills, among the patient." The Bible, the Quran, and the Talmud all recount this awe-inspiring moment. Father and son walking together to the sacred site in Mina. Ibn Kathir adds a powerful detail, that Satan tried to tempt them 3 times along the way, and they stoned him with pebbles. This is the origin of the stoning of the devil in Hajj. They reached the place. Abraham laid his son down, raised the knife, and in that final moment, the divine call came. The Quran proclaims, "We called out to him, 'O Abraham, you have fulfilled the vision. Indeed, this is how we reward the righteous. And we ransomed him with a great sacrifice.' A magnificent ram descended from the heavens. El-Tabari tells us, it was a ram from paradise, white, massive, its horns caught in the trees. This moment became a cornerstone of Abrahamic faiths. Eid al-Adha for Muslims, Passover for Jews, all commemorate this act of faith. A moment where belief triumphed.
After the greatest test of faith came the most divine mission, to build the first house ever established for mankind. The Quran tells us, "And when Abraham and Ishmael raised the foundations of the house, they prayed, 'Our Lord, accept this from us. Indeed, you are the all-hearing, the all-knowing.'" Al-Azraqi, in History of Mecca, narrates the details. Angel Gabriel descended and showed Abraham the exact location of the house. Its foundations had existed since the time of Adam, but the flood had buried them. Ibn Hisham adds, "Abraham stood on a stone to reach the higher walls. That stone is the Maqam Ibrahim we see today, his footprints still imprinted upon it, a timeless mark of devotion." Picture the scene. Father and son working side by side, stone by stone, raising the first sanctuary dedicated solely to the one God, in the heart of the desert, far from Babylon's idols and the false temples of other lands. And when the building was complete, came the final divine command, "Proclaim the pilgrimage to mankind. They will come to you on foot and on every lean camel, from every distant pass." Al-Tabari and Al-Qurtubi recount the final scene of this epic. Abraham climbed Mount Abu Qubais and called out with all his strength, "O people, your Lord has established a house. Come and perform pilgrimage to it." And the miracle, his voice reached every soul, in the loins of men and in the wombs of women, until the day of judgment. Those destined to make the pilgrimage responded, "Labbaik Allahumma labbaik." "Here I am, O Allah, here I am." And thus, in the heart of the Arabian desert, a new spiritual center was born that would shape the destiny of mankind. From Mecca, the monotheistic call of Abraham spread. Across Arab tribes, ancient inscriptions, Thamudic and Safayitic, found throughout the peninsula, show signs of belief in the one God centuries before Islam.
At the same time, through Isaac and Jacob, the same message spread north and west to the Levant and Egypt, carrying the seeds of the divine religions that would transform the world.